Hello everyone! Last week we talked about the events within the Tanaan jungle, the assault from both land and sea, and the chase of Gul'dan as we tried to stop him from using the Cipher of Damnation to cause massive damage to the land. This week it's time to actually enter Hellfire Citadel, take care of whatever Gul'dan has created, recruited or summoned. I'm going to talk about the story behind the bosses within the Citadel, we're going to talk about the ending of the entire expansion, and we're going to talk a little bit about what the future might bring. For those that haven't seen the ending of the raid yet, or that haven't done Hellfire Citadel at all, be warned, there might be spoilers in this video. If you don't want any spoilers, then please turn off the video right now and let me just say thank you very much for watching, hope to catch you next time. For those sticking around, there are a bunch of bosses to talk about, so let's begin, shall we? The Hellfire Citadel, a massive fortress, was also built in our reality. Back then, it was created for Warchief Blackhand, the first Warchief of the Horde, who was really just a puppet of Gul'dan. In this reality, Gul'dan was never able to convert Blackhand into his ranks, so the Citadel was never built for him. Instead, it was Garrosh who suggested to Grommash that they should build this fortress. When Garrosh encouraged Grommash to begin construction of this massive stronghold in the heart of the Tanaan jungle, to serve as a staging ground for the assault of Azeroth, he even suggested the name Hellfire, pulled from a different time and different land. He dreamed of seeing the mighty Orcish iron towering over an unblighted landscape so very different from the wastelands that he had known in Outland. But even as times change, so do they stay the same, as Gul'dan has now seized control over the Iron Horde. He managed to convince the orcs to drink the demon blood, and he changed the look of the Citadel to be more to his liking. This introduction brings us to the bosses within Hellfire Citadel, and the very first encounter is called Hellfire Assaults, in which we turn the massive Hellfire cannons in the Citadel's courtyard against the mighty Citadel. During the fight, we first face off against Siege Master Martok. A bunch of orcs are being dropped down with iron stars upon us, and cannons are sent to try and take out our cannons. It's interesting to mention that these siege weapons, they were created with the help of the Blackfuse company, and this company goes back all the way to the Siege of Orgrimmar, in which we took out Siegecraft the Blackfuse, and as we did, he warned us that his legacy would live on. He was telling the truth, since Garrosh took with him a few of the blueprints and designs the Blackfuse had created, and with them he upgraded the technology of the orcs. It was never really explained how or when the remaining Blackfuse company made their way to Draenor, but considering that there are portals popping up all over the place, we're getting reinforcements here and there, it doesn't seem that difficult to get to Draenor. Blackfuse influence doesn't stop with the first encounter either. The second fight, the Iron Reaver, it was also designed by Blackfuse, but those that have leveled during the Burning Crusade, you'll probably remember the nightmares of a fell Reaver showing up behind you. The schematics for the Iron Reaver were found in the workshop of Blackfuse himself after the fall of Orgrimmar, drawing inspiration from the mighty constructs of the Legion and designed to be the nefarious Goblin's masterwork. They completed this project after his death. It's been enhanced with some delicious fel magic, and with it, Martok tries to take us out.
Burn, burn, burn!
No fell Iron Reaver will stand in our way, and as Khadgar builds up some teleportation within the Citadel, we move ahead and we take the battle to the Magnaron Cormrock. Not much to say about this creature, we've seen many variations of them throughout Draenor, and Cormrock is an ancient as Draenor itself, and he once ruled Gorgrond. The creatures of the land got out of the way of this gigantic Magnaron's destructive fury, but despite his legacy, despite its description, he was captured by the Iron Horde, and they tried to break his will. Nothing they could do could make this Magnaron kneel down in submission, but that all changed when Gul'dan, he took over, and he offered some delicious fel power. Cormrock could not resist, and now serves the Fel Horde. Next up is the Hellfire High Council, a combination of Shadowmoon Clan, Bleeding Hollow Clan and the Burning Blade Clan. Thousands of Iron Horde orcs accepted when Gul'dan offered them the Blood of Manoroth once again, but very few grew as powerful as these three did. They now serve Gul'dan as both his High Guard and Council of War. You have Dia Dark Whisper, Master of Void Magic and an outcast of the Shadowmoon Clan. She quickly rose to power as the left hand of Gul'dan, and unfortunately not much else is known about Dia. It's unexplained why she became an outcast of the Shadowmoon Clan. Perhaps they already knew that she was part of Team Gul'dan, and considering that Gul'dan was not on friendly terms with the Iron Horde, perhaps that's the reason why they sent her away. Void Magic is also a subject that's been kept in the dark. We've seen Ner'zhul and the Shadow Moon Clan use it, of course, with void creatures, resurrecting the dead, but other than that, there's still a lot of lore to be filled in.
The void, it hungers.
Blade Master Ubaitos also played a small part in the story within our reality. For those that have played Warcraft 3, you might remember the campaign where Arthas and Kel'Thuzad did reclaim the Demon Gate to communicate with our command. Ubaitos was trying to defend the Demon Gate since they believed that the Scourge was an impure race to the demons and that they were truly chosen by the Burning Legion. In this reality, Ubaitos accepted Gul'dan's gift of the Demon Blood, and since we killed Azuka Blade Fury, it's speculated that Ubaitos now commands the Burning Blade clan.
For the Burning Blade!
The last member of the council is a dire orc that you might remember from the Black Temple. It's Gul'dan Bloodboil of the Bleeding Hollow clan. His hunger for blood was insatiable, and he has emerged victorious out of 100 trials by combat. He was only bested once in battle against Ubaitos himself, which ended as a draw, and dire orcs, they're pretty rare and can be created in several different ways. Considering that Gul'dan is part of the Bleeding Hollow clan, he was most likely transformed into a dire orc by one of their blood rituals.
Iron Horde will crush you!
Now, the might of these three clans combined, they tried to hold us back, they tried to take us down, but they failed, of course, leading into a fight where we find an old friend that's also been transformed by a blood ritual.
Why do you resist your own blood, Ariok? Give in to your rage. Release me from these bonds, and I will show you my rage, Kilrog! The choice is simple, Ariok. Submit or die.
It looks like Ariok succeeded in finding Kilrog, but he was unable to kill him. They've placed him in chains, and a steady flow of demonic blood is pouring down on the dire orc, either converting him to serve the Burning Legion or killing him in the process.
I will die before I serve the Burning Legion!
We face off against the warlord of the Bleeding Hollow clan, the one that sacrificed his own eye to see a vision of his demise and the way that he should lead his clan. During a story in Lords of War, Kilrog Deadeye was shown that he was supposed to kill his father and take leadership of the clan. Marad tells us this tale, he tells it to Varian, and the image that they used when talking about Kilrog's demise, it shows him dead on the battlefield with Alliance and Horde banners in the background. This is not the way that Kilrog died in our reality. In our reality, it was Danav Trollbane that took the kill with an Akundun. This led some believe that the image shown would be the moment of demise within this reality, but again, that didn't happen. As you can see, he's going to die in Hellfire Citadel. I believe that they explained it by saying that Marad had no idea what exactly was shown to Kilrog, and the image could just be a representation of Alliance and Horde taking him on and taking Kilrog out. It's also possible that they had a different storyline in mind for Kilrog, that this was not the end that they envisioned, since first he followed Grommash, then later he switched sides to Team Gul'dan. It seems to be a little bit off for someone that has seen the future. Sure, you could say that he's only seen glimpses, but you have to wonder if Kilrog always knew that Grommash would fail, if he always knew that Gul'dan would take control. If he has seen the future, could he have changed it? Couldn't he have warned Grommash about what's to come? The future is not set in stone, as we've seen with the whole Wars of the Draenor setup, so why didn't he change it? I guess that if he did, then we wouldn't have the raid as it is today, and the storyline wouldn't be what it is. Now, during the fight, we see a few reinforcements show up. They try to reach the pool of blood to become dire orcs themselves. In Kilrog, he will suck you into his eye with an ability called Vision of Death. Fell energy pours from Kilrog's eye sockets, transporting enemies who bask in his light to the moment of their doom. This moment of doom has us standing together with Khadgar as we fight countless waves of demons, and this makes some speculate that this Vision of Death is actually a hint for the next expansion, and I'm not saying that it's impossible, pretty much anything's possible at this point, but to me it seems unlikely. We've just finished off an expansion with a lot of Legion influences, so it would be repetitive to straight away fight the Legion once again. On top of that, we had a similar experience during the fight with Garrosh. If you remember, Garrosh showed us his future with Stormwind burning, with heroes spiked along the walls. This vision also never became a reality. So like I said, it's not impossible, but it could also just be a cool vision of a future that could happen if we fail. Naturally, we don't fail the fight. We take out the warlord of the Bleeding Hollow clan, and we give Kilrog the death that was shown to him. If you do it fast enough, you can actually save Ariok from the torment and recruit him as a follower. Otherwise, all you have left is a pile of bones. Usually lore-wise, that means that Ariok survived the encounter, as we've seen with Gammon during Siege of Orgrimmar. You could actually let Gammon die, or you could help him with the siege, but lore-wise he survived, and I think the same goes for Ariok.
I am in your debt, heroes. My strength is yours.
From the dark abyss below Akandun comes the next boss, one formerly known as Terangor, now he's known as Gorfiend. The first of the Death Knights created by Gul'dan in our reality. On this Draenor, he was first captured together with Gul'dan and Cho'Gall, and they used him as a battery to power the Dark Portal. We liberated him to disable the Dark Portal, which allowed Terangor to join the assault upon Akandun and jump down to feast on thousands of souls. All that delicious power has created this beautiful, beautiful being, and the Fell Horde has convinced him to come to the Citadel.
I must have more souls!
Not much else can be said about Gorfiend, except that if you die, he will actually eat you up, he will try to digest your soul, and considering that he's been feasting on the souls in Akandun, and Maraad was last seen within Akandun, I wonder if Gorfiend actually ate him.
I know I may not return. But if there is even the barest chance of preventing the atrocities I witnessed from happening again, then I offer myself gladly.
Get in my belly!
For those that watched last week's video, the next boss should be no surprise, Shadow Lord Iskar. After the events within Spires of Arak, Iskar was approached by Gul'dan with an offer. He helped Gul'dan with finding the Cipher of Damnation, and in exchange Gul'dan gave Iskar some delicious demon blood, which increased his power, and it also restored his ability to fly. When you enter Iskar's room, you can see him together with other Arakoa that joined the Fell Horde, and he's working on corrupting the Eye of Anzu. The Eye was granted to Terok, the Talon King, by Anzu himself, allowing him to communicate with the corrupted Arakoa, and now it seems like they're trying to infuse it with Fell energies. Thankfully the Eye is not fully corrupted yet, and its powers allow us to counter Iskar's attacks and bring him down.
Do you think you have won? You know nothing!
Along the way to the next boss, we encounter a few Dreadlords of the Legion. They're trying to stop us from reaching Sokravar and interrupting their binding. Sokravar the Eternal was part of the Alliance storyline way back at the start of Warlords of Draenor. He had betrayed the other Draenei Exarchs. He had joined Team Burning Legion since he believed that Vala was a fool for refusing Sargeras' offer of power and immortality. More of the Draenei were persuaded by Sokravar to join him, and at Shefrev, we together with Exarch Maladar and Lady Liedrin, we challenged Sokravar and we presumably took him out. It seems like Sokravar does not go down that easy, and here they're working on binding his soul to a construct. This is an old Draenei tradition where the greatest warriors have their souls imbued into gleaming constructs. We've even encountered one of these before during the Akandun dungeon, but now Sokravar, he's perverted this holiest of rituals, and he used a warped Fell construct to preserve his soul after his defeat in Talador. It's a good thing that we reached them before the ritual was fully completed, since this allowed us to kick Sokravar's soul out of the construct and use it ourselves.
The Nether! It consumes me!
Fell Lord Sakuni is next, but along the way to his fighting area, you can see a weird little prison with an eye beast standing guard over Draenei and orcs. I have no idea what this area is supposed to be or represent or what the story behind it is, but it looks pretty cool, so I thought I would mention it. Now Sakuni is speculated to be an evolved version of the common Fell Guards, and Fell Lords serve as enforcers in the direct service of our command. This one has been given a special job since Bolvar Fordragon, Gromash Hellscream, he's been captured by Gul'dan and they're working on breaking his legendary Iron Will.
Still holding out hope, Hellscream. Your precious horde will serve the Legion. We will never be slaves.
Hang out to dry in the sun did nothing to break Gromash's will when the ogres tried to do it, and Zagoon had no better luck. We defeat the Fell Lords, and Gromash comes down to carve out his trophy.
My thanks to you. Now, leave me. I have a trophy to carve.
We'll let Gromash have his fun while making our way to Zul Horak. Summoned by Gul'dan from the depths of the twisting nether, Zul'Horak is one of the most powerful of the Void Revenants, a race of parasitic void beings that tear holes through the planes of reality, consuming and absorbing the energies and beings within. Gul'dan has twisted Zul'Horak, feeding him overwhelming fel energy and using his power to tear open the portals through which he plans to use to rally the forces of the Burning Legion. This information is taken directly from the Dungeon Journal, and unfortunately there isn't much more to say about Zul'Horak. The same goes for Tyrant Velhari. The Dungeon Journal says, when Gul'dan brought his gift to the Sargerai, Velhari had already made her ambitions clear and risen through the ranks with brutal ferocity. Known to her enemies as the Tyrant, Velhari was one of the first to accept the Fel Touch, further enhancing her combat prowess. Velhari now bears a mockery of the holy symbol of the Naru, signifying her conviction to the New Order. So in short, she's one of the Sargerai, which was a bit of a tyrant. She accepted the Fel Touch and she became more powerful.
The Eredar are no strangers to war. Are you so eager to meet your end?
Basically, she's a corrupted version of the Draenei Vindicators, but her room, it does look very cool. Which brings us to the final two bosses of the raid, and these two have a lot of story behind them. First we have the Pit Lord Manoroth, sent down by the Legion to offer his blood and corrupt the orcs. In our reality, the orcs willingly embraced this so-called gift, but here Garrosh, he was able to change events. He set a trap for Manoroth, and Gromar smashed Gorhal right into Manoroth's skull. This was an epic and beautiful tribute to the events of Warcraft 3, where pretty much the same happened. Gromar in our reality also sacrificed himself to liberate his people from their demonic enslavement, only this time, on alternate Draenor, Garrosh was able to push him out of the explosion and keep him around as the war chief of the Iron Horde. Over time, the Iron Horde was beaten down and Gul'dan stepped up to offer the blood once more, the same exact blood as he had offered the first time. Some speculated that Gul'dan would use different blood from a different Pit Lord, since it is pretty contradicting to the lore as we know it. In our reality, killing Manoroth, it liberated the orcs from the demonic curse, so killing the Pit Lord on alternate realities, it should also remove all power from the blood. This didn't happen. Gul'dan didn't lose his red eyes, nor did he lose any of his powers, and the blood, it remained powerful enough to still corrupt the orcs. That's just a lore mess up though. In the raid itself, high atop the Citadel, Gul'dan and his warlocks, they've been working on resurrecting Manoroth and bring the Pit Lord back to life.
Return, Manoroth. Yes. Yes. Your masters call you to this world once more. What is this? Gul'dan, what have you done? I am so
This is probably my favorite fight that I've seen in the raid. The skeletal model of Manoroth, it looks freaking epic, and throughout the fight his powers return, he gets his flesh back until he's as powerful as he ever was. He used the same attacks as he used against Romash and the rest of the orcs within the introduction cinematic. He pushes people off the platform, infernals are raining down from the sky, it's just glorious all around. But of course, not even Manoroth is powerful enough to stop our assaults.
The Legion will find you! No matter where you flee.
Gul'dan has fled to the Dark Portal. Quickly, champions. He has no place left to run. We will finish this. And save me his skull. For reasons.
A few of you heard this line from Khadgar that he wants the skull of Gul'dan, and a few have asked me if it means anything. Some even suggested that Khadgar is not really Khadgar, that he's Medivh or Illidan or Revion, but honestly, in my opinion, I just think Khadgar is Khadgar, only now he's the Guardian. The skull line, it seems to me like a reference to the story in our reality where Khadgar used the skull of Gul'dan to close the Dark Portal and save the world of Azeroth. Touching the skull with his bare hands gave him insight into the mind of Gul'dan. It even allowed him to communicate with the Warlock from the grave. So I think it's just referring to that moment in the novel Beyond the Dark Portal, but of course, I could be wrong. Either way, Gul'dan teleports to the location of the Dark Portal. He opens the Black Gates and he summons one of the most powerful beings that the Legion has to offer. Archimonde has appeared on Draenor and is ready to finish the invasion and move on to conquer and destroy planet after planet. On Twitter, we've learned that Archimonde's soul is anchored to the Nether and that the twisting Nether transcends all realities. The Dungeon Journal says that Archimonde is reaching across space and time to ensure that the invasion of Azeroth proceeds, and the developer said that Archimonde picked up a few new tricks after the battle at Mount Hyjal.
Your foolish crusade ends here, mortals. The Legion comes, and with it, this world breathes its dying breath.
All of this suggests to me that we're facing off against our Archimonde, the same Archimonde that was defeated at the Battle of Mount Hyjal. Back then, it required the world to work together, the Night Elves to give up their immortality, and this time we have no world tree to blow up, and Archimonde does not come alone. With him are Khosrogal, Escalor and Anaferon, 3 bosses with very difficult names that were part of the battle for Mount Hyjal. The references to the Burning Crusade continue, but we're not alone either, since we have Ural, Khadgar and Gromash has somehow, someway been able to collect Gorhal again. They join us for the battle over the fate of not only Draenor, but Azeroth and the universe as well. Unfortunately, they haven't released the Mythic Kill video yet at the time that I'm making this video, so I can't say if anything important is going to happen for the lore on Mythic difficulty. I can't imagine that the end cinematic will be much different though, so maybe there's a minor difference on Mythic, but the end cinematic will be the same. So after fighting Archimonde the Defiler, being transported to Twisted Nether and back, we do the near impossible and we bring Archimonde to his knees.
You made a pact. It's done. Gul'dan failed. Draenor is free!
You don't think it's over?
Gul'dan and the devils that command him are not so easily banished. I fear this is only beginning.
If you ever need us, we will be here.
Until we meet again.
A great man once told me, in the light, we are one. The future is ours, and we will see Draenor rebuilt. Together.
And that's how it all ends. That's the conclusion of Warlords of Draenor. In the cinematic, we hear that Gul'dan has made a pact with Archimonde and he's not letting the orc off the hook. It looks like Gul'dan is pushed into the Black Gate, where Archimonde just came from, so he's most likely sent to the Twisted Nether, but we're not sure where the orc ends up. Say that history is going to repeat itself, then we might see Gul'dan being tortured by the Legion for quite a bit, until he's turned into a new weapon. A similar thing happened in our reality with the orc Ner'zhul. He disobeyed Kil'jaeden, he stepped through a portal to what he assumed to be the Promised Land, but instead he ended up in front of Kil'jaeden, who tortured him and then turned him into the Lich King. It's very hard to predict the future, what might come, but I think one thing is for certain, and that is that we'll see Gul'dan once again. Khadgar nearly confirms it. He thinks that Gul'dan and the Legion will return one day, so whatever happens to Gul'dan right now, you can bet that he will come back. With that statement, Khadgar transforms himself into a bird, which is very much like Medivh used to do, so once again, I think he's a Guardian now, but I would love for Blizzard to give a little story to it. In the lore, the last Guardian that we know about is Medan. He should be the one with the Guardian powers, so perhaps Medan is retconned, perhaps Medan has transferred his powers to Khadgar. I would just love to hear from Blizzard a confirmation, maybe a short story. that would be great. We see the light die out in Archimonde's eyes, so his soul probably returns to the twisted nether, and then Gromash and Gul'dan, they turn around and they cheer. Gul'dan has failed and Draenor is free, and the first time that I saw this happen, I just had to laugh and shake my head. Gromash, he was the one who started it all. Sure, Garrosh whispered in his ears, he placed the idea of invading our reality in his mind, but still, Gromash was the one leading the Iron Horde, starting off the expansion. When you look at the bosses in Hellfire Citadel, you see that most of them were already part of the Iron Horde's arsenal. They're now infused with fel magic, of course, but they were still created by the Iron Horde to be used against us. Draenei are actually cheering for Gromash instead of chopping off his head or putting him on trial even. And someone on Twitter actually asked Blizzard, like, what the hell is going on here? To which Muffinus gave the following answers. I don't think everything is forgiven, but he's seen the atrocities of the Legion, and neither side wants more bloodshed. It's better than our Draenor, Outlands. An uneasy truce keeps Kerebor standing. Marat died for something after all. Neither side wants more bloodshed, Muffinus says. It's better than our Draenor, but why is it better to keep a hostile race nearby? What kind of troops does the Iron Horde possibly have to take Kerebor with? Last time they tried to take Kerebor, we kicked their asses with the Naru's help. So what exactly do they think that they have to offer? He continues with saying, have you played through all of the 6.2 quest content to see how this plays out? To which I say, yeah, I have. I've even done all the achievements, and unless I've missed a big part of the storyline, there was no development in regards to Gromash. In my opinion, this is not our world. If Gromash and Ural can live in harmony, it is a better world. He still has armies at his command. What would combat gain? More death? In my opinion, the Draenei are above this. What more combat would gain? Well, first of all, you assume that Gromash has enough troops to continue combat, and maybe there are a few orcs here and there, but we kicked the Iron Horde's butt, we kicked the fel Iron Horde's butt, we kicked Archimonde's butt. Like, what chance does Gromash have? Sure, you might lose a couple more troops, but in the end you would take care of a threat that tried to do genocide on your race. Like, sure, there is something to gain there. Gromash was willing to invade a whole different planet that had done nothing to him. He was willing to murder us all. Only when we brought them to their knees, when Gul'dan took over, only then did Gromash switch sides, which was basically just to save his own ass. You could say that the Draenei are above it, sure, but we're not all Draenei. And if you mention Marat most of all would have wanted to take care of the orcs, to make sure that nothing like this would ever happen again. The ending, in my opinion, is pretty disappointing, and I've heard many people repeat this, and you can really tell that a lot of content and chapters of the story have been cut out of the expansion. I've done a Q-talk with Kelric, in which I go further into my overall opinion for Warlocks of Draenor, so if you want to know more about my opinion, because this is the story of Hellfire, then you can check that video out. There are more plot holes and questions for the expansion, like, why is Gul'dan powerful enough to summon Archimonde like that? Why doesn't he need the Book of Medivh like a Warcraft 3? But this is, this is what we got. Which means that we've reached the end of the story of patch 6.2, Fury of Hellfire. For those that were wondering, I will cover the final part of the legendary questline, but I still have a fair few tomes to collect, and it's pretty random, so I don't know when I'll finish. There have been a few people that have finished the questline already, so if you can't wait, then check Google for spoilers. There is an interesting character that shows up, but I haven't heard any massive changes to the storyline, so I wonder if it's really that great. But if you're interested, go to Google, and I'm sure you'll be able to find it. I really do hope that the rumors of an expansion announcement within a few days are true, because having a year of Tanaan Jungle and Hellfire Citadel as your only content, that's not good for the sub numbers or the game as a whole. We're in a period of time where a lot of so-called leaks are announced and prophets are coming out with the next expansion that will be, but keep in mind that anything goes until Blizzard makes the announcement. I've seen the Dark Prophet speculation, which seems plausible. It falls nearly under the same category as Eye of Azora. I've done a video with 3 possible storylines that they could go with, but as Warlords and Mr. Pandaria have shown, Blizzard can do whatever they want. If we don't get an expansion quick though, then I really hope we'll at least get a little filler rate to keep people entertained. But as always, that's up to Blizzard to decide. And with that, I'm done for today. But before we go, I just want to say thank you to the guild From Ashes on Silvermoon EU. These guys and girls were kind enough to take me along and carry me through the Hellfire Citadel, which allowed me to make this video without having to wait for LFR to open up, which will still take like 4, maybe 6 weeks, so they really saved me a bunch of time. For those of you out there, if you're interested, the guild is recruiting at the moment. They're running a tight ship over there, but they also have a lot of fun. So if you're looking for a raiding guild and you play either a ranged DPS, a resto druid, Druid or a Resto Shaman, please go to the website, linked in the description down below, and apply to the guilds. Right everyone, that's me really done for today. As always, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you like my videos, and until next time guys, see ya!
Our bond is iron, our will unbreakable. Who will stand against us?